Hello, everybody. I'm here with a friend today, and we're just gonna be like briefly reviewing. Well, I say briefly, but it's not gonna be very brief. We're gonna be reviewing all of the subclasses in D&D as to how good they are to roleplay and how they feel with the abilities you're given and what you can do role-playing these classes in D&D. Hello, Maury.
Hello, Kyan. So, you called me a couple minutes ago, and you said we wanted to do a video. So we're doing a video, and so you said it was just ranking the D&D like on how cool they're to role play. So this is probably gonna be quick. Like you said, just like a one class or something like that, right? It won't be long, right?
I mean, I can show you real quick.
Oh yeah,
I
that's probably fair.
yeah
That's fair.
yeah. Let me just show you what it looks like. That's the not the right thing, but yeah. Here's all the subclasses in the game.
Wait, we're doing
Um,
all subclasses?
yeah, all the subclasses in the game. I think
Wait,
it's like
wait, you didn't tell me this.
I think it's only like 116, 117, something like that. 116, I
Wait,
think.
Kyan, I didn't, I didn't agree to this commitment.
Yeah.
Kyan, you know how late it is?
It is 11:35 p.m.
Oh my
and
gosh. Well, thankfully, we're both also very the type of people to never get sleep, so this is fine, I guess. Okay, I'll roll with it. Let's go.
if we put something in the S tier, that means that like it is perfectly designed to be role played, and not only can you role play it, and like not only do the abilities lend to the role play, but you will feel like the one. Like if you're an ancestral guardian barbarian, for example, that we put in the S tier, you are the ancestral guardian barbarian. Like if you're up in the S tier, that means that not only do your abilities lend to roleplay, they make you that you are forced into the roleplay. You can't if you're an S tier, you can't roleplay it wrong with the abilities you're
Yeah, it's
given.
just one of those ones that you're just like, oh, this perfectly fits for my character, and then you just like you feel like it comes naturally to you just because of your class or
Yeah.
specifically subclass, you know?
A plus is for when I mean basically it's here for to distinguish because we're probably gonna have a good amount of A tier stuff. A plus is like it's not quite S tier. It's not that you can't mess it up, but it is definitely some of the best roleplay potential in the game.
It's still very you have to give it credits where credit's due. You just cannot possibly put it in S tier.
A tier is also some of the best roleplay potential in the game. It's just it's possible to mess it up. If the only difference between A tier and S tier is A tier, you could mess it up. S tier, if you use the abilities, then you're role playing. Like that's how good S tier is. If you have the abilities and you're using them at all, then you're just kind of forced into the roleplay of that class. Whereas A tier, if you're not intentionally role playing, you'll mess it up. But it should still be really easy to roleplay these characters.
So B is just more of the type like it's good. You can still mess up like not it's like there's good chances that you can mess up as like role playing, but usually it's a very solid pick. This is probably where our like a lot of like we just think like this is very solid. We're gonna go with it, but we just can't possibly think like there's more possibilities of messing up. I would
Yeah.
say, right?
Yeah, there's some B tier might have a couple couple flaws or a couple chinks in the armor that don't feel quite perfect, but ultimately you could still roleplay decently with B tier from what you're given. C tier is just you might be
I
presented with some difficulty.
I don't
Hmm.
think. I mean, again, if I recall correctly, I don't think we're gonna have like that many trash tiers, or
No,
maybe
no.
not none at all.
Yeah,
Because trash tier, like again, like trash tier is like what we think is just the worst of the worst in role playing aspects. We're probably not gonna find many of those, even though there are 116, which I wasn't informed about. But let's just start with it. So the first one,
it is the alchemist. And briefly just to talk about the alchemist for a second. The alchemist can make potions. That's like their big gimmick is that they make potions. You get tool proficiency in surprise, surprise, alchemist supplies, and you get some healing spells, some poison spells. You get like Death Ward and Raise Dead and Cloud Kill at like really high levels. You can also make potions called Experimental Elixir at third level, where you can make a healing potion or some movement speed potion where you can increase movement speed by 10 feet, can increase AC by 1 for people. You can basically give people a knockoff inspiration with boldness. There's even a potion where you can give someone flight, and an ability and a potion that gives someone the Alter Self spell. So there's a lot of utility here in these potions. At 5th level, you basically get better at this, and you can use your Alchemist supplies as spellcasting focus, which is kind of baked into the whole Artificer class already. So it's like kind of, it's just okay. And the 9th level subclass, you get some more stuff with restoring health, and you can cast lesser restoration without expending a spell slot, or preparing the spell if you have your alchemist supplies and a spell casting focused. Um, so there's some good healing buffs you get at later levels, and that's basically the whole subclass. I think
So
for me, um, I'm just gonna put it right in. I'm gonna put it in B tier while we talk.
sure, sure, sure. I think actually I quite like this one. I know you while you're
Mhm.
talking about it, of course I looked at it while you were talking, so I quite like this one. It gives you a wide array of like a decent amount of just healing stuff. So that I mean this is of course like the healing class. And I really like the idea of just kind of like because artificers are usually the scientist type besides like wizards. They're more of like the techie scientist types. And
Yeah.
so I always like that interesting idea that you're actually kind of like the one who's trying to benefit people because a lot of scientists are like that, but it's just kind of like I mean I would agree with you probably B tier because it's still niche. Maybe not niche, but like it could be a little bit hard to play because you're just like I want to help people with my potions, all this stuff, and like it's very good utility wise. But I think there's some points where you could just be kind of like am I like do I have a direct goal with this mind? Like the direct theme with this class. And it's kind of weird. So like
Yeah.
I do think like I mean it's like like the one thing the specifically the one ability that I really like that could be a good like kind of role play thing is that like you gain immunity to like poison conditions and poison like you get resistance to poison and acid damage. That kind of reminds me of like how the Joker is from Batman because he's like
Yeah.
immune to toxins. So you could role play that like into your character once you get there.
Hmm.
Like that would be an interesting thing, but like I think this is just kind of a solid B tier.
I do agree with that. This does kind of feel B tier. I think the reason for me it feels B tier is you have the third level, like the third level subclass feature is really flavorful. Definitely lends itself really well to that feeling where you are the alchemist. You are making the potions, you are giving them to the party, and you get a certain amount of potions every day. You might not be using those potions every day, but you get them, and then over time, the less you use them, the more you have, and the more utility you'll build up. It's just like you just get more and more utility the longer you have this class in the party, and then when that one bad guy is flying away and it feels like no one's going to be able to get him, you throw a flying potion to your barbarian and you're like, go smash. And it now you have a flying barbarian. Um,
And then yeah, just like it also just like the boldness, basically knock off inspiration, but like
mhm.
like bardic inspiration, still a very
Yeah.
good move. I mean, like it's just like I think the third level is easily the best, and I'm pretty sure the designers specifically made it that way.
Hmm.
But then when you go to like the fifth level, you're just like, how do you really role play that? Like it just doesn't give you much more new stuff to role play.
Yeah.
Like once you level up, that's why I think like it's just carried by the third level stuff.
It's not bad. It's a solid B tier pick. I think in order to make A tier, it does have to in some way lend itself to the feeling, the flavor of the subclass in at least two of the features. Um, Instead of like kind of just leaning on that first feature a little too much. But I think we can move on to armor if you want to
Yeah,
talk about
armor. So
armor a little
this,
bit.
yeah, I think it's my turn. So this one, like of course, artificers all have like a spell casting focus and all that stuff, and this one's just this one you well not spell casting focus, but you get like specific things in the beginning. So you get proficiency in heavy armor, which makes sense, and you gain smith tools as proficiency. And then so you get a good amount of spells like magic missile. These are like one of the more like some of them are pretty like utility but also damaging. So these are pretty good spells like magic missile, thunder wave, lightning bolt. You get good stuff. And the main thing, the crux of this ability is that you get two third level stuff. So you get like an armor stuff. So as an action, you could turn your armor into an arcane armor. So you just get benefits through that. So you could so let's see, what does it say? You could just use like your armor as a spell casting focus and all that stuff, and then like just nice bonuses to it that could give you flavor for stuff. And the main part is the armor model, which you get to choose two versions: guardian or infiltrator. So guardian, you just basically gets to choose like which weapon type you get to use. So thunder gauntlets and which for guardian, lightning launcher for infiltrator, and you get basically other bonuses like walking speed for infiltrator, and you get advantage on deck say stealth checks. And then the other one is that you get for defensive field for guardian, you just get like bonuses. And then this is a typical one at the 5th level, you just get to attack twice, just a good bonus, but not really like role playing flavor. So and then at 9th level, you just get to use your infusions on your armor. So now that you could just use your infusions on them and change your armor model with the armor feature. So like it's just really good feature, and that could play to like infusion role play, which is nice. And then the armor, then the last one, perfect armor, which is just same thing with like split between art guardian and infiltrator. So any when huge small creatures end your turn, you get to make them do a strength saving throw against your spell DC, which is a good move, and you can use that as equal to your proficiency. Nice, nice, nice. And then infiltrator is just like you get another thing with like your lightning launcher, where the light of 5 foot radius of light, and then people have disadvantage on you. And then I'm pretty sure you also get extra damage if your attack has advantage on it, and you get 1d6. So very good stuff. Like I like it, but very good stuff. I feel okay. Let's just put you know what, you start off this time with what you rate it.
Personally, I think for me, this this comes into the A plus tier for me personally. We have actually an Artificer armor in a campaign we're in right now where Maury's the DM. Um, what I will say is I like that all of the features are just like they are surrounding the armor that you build. This has like a heavy Iron Man feel to it. And I feel like that's definitely on purpose. I remember looking at this initially, and it's just so obvious, just the Iron Man feel. I was like trying to use this class to like make something else, and I just wound up being like, this is too much like Iron Man. Like you are Iron Man. You're almost forced into playing Iron Man with this class. Like there's no way around it. And the person we have in our campaign is a Dragonborn, and uh, well, the campaign's pretty young, so everyone's still kind of coming into their characters. I'm really excited to see how this subclass is role played as the campaign goes on, with all the different things that you can do with this armor. Like the flavor of being able to say that when you cast magic missile, it doesn't come out of your like magical portal that you cast. Your armor has magic missiles in it. Your armor is your spellcasting focus. When you cast fireball, it's your flamethrower coming out, you know? For me, this is A plus. But what do you think?
I would say, I mean, the reason why I would probably give it A, but I will still give it to you A plus because I still do quite like it, is just that because like you said it kind of yourself, you're kind of forced to play one specific archetype in a way. So like not always, because your D&D is always like wide variety and all this stuff. But like, a lot of times you're forced, like even when you were building this character for my friend, you were like kind of like just saying like, oh yeah, like this is just Iron Man. I had an idea for something else, but this is just Iron Man. I have to make it Iron Man. Like you have kind of lean into like one specific like subclass. I mean, specific like genre, which is very good, and you play that genre very well. So that's why I'll give you the A plus. Personally, I would say like I lean more towards A, but I'll give you the A plus.
And next, we're going to talk a little bit about the artillerist. An artillerist, you get proficiency with wood carver's tools, which is kind of interesting. I don't know how the utility will play into that. Um, and then you get at third level you get the shield spell, which is definitely one of the more useful spells, being that it's a reaction. Definitely good to have that. You get fireball, ice storm, wall of fire. As far as power goes, this class definitely is packing some heat. Next, we also have the eldritch cannon, which is like the cornerstone of what this subclass is doing. You basically make a magic sci-fi gun. If your DM is like, "Hey, no sci-fi guns in my campaign," but you want to just say that you can somehow make your own, see if they'll let you play this subclass, because this subclass allows you to basically jimmy rig your own sci-fi gun that does whatever you want, and you can cast spells out of it, and it can have an AC of 18, which is probably higher than your AC. You can use it as a flamethrower. You can use it to make a like force damage ranged attack, and you can also use it to basically give temporary hit points to people. Like you can use it to shoot shields at your allies. Ninth level, you get to increase it by another d8. At this point, you're increasing basically any spell you're casting out of this thing by 2d8, which is a lot. Um, this class is blowing stuff up. This class likes boom boom. Um, uh, as an action, you can detonate your weapon, and anything within 20 feet of it has to make a dexterity saving throw or take 3d8 force damage on a failed save, or half as much on a successful one. Which in a pinch, that's a lot of damage to not have to use a spell slot on. Granted, you have to make your arcane weapon again, but just throwing your gun at somebody and doing 3d8 force damage is a really good way to get out of a tight situation when it feels like there's no other way out. Another thing is with this weapon, it can also be a turret. You don't need to hold it as a gun. I think flavor wise, I like it most being held as a gun, but you can set this thing up as a turret, which is definitely powerful. I think as far as like what we've looked at, this is the strongest probably, but we're not talking about the strength of the subclasses. We're talking about roleplay, and I think this one for me, I don't know. I'll let you say what you think on it first, and then I'll give you my take.
I quite like this one a lot personally. I mean, it is like it is very strong and it is very strong, and that might be a reason why I like it. But like, it kind of reminds me of like I would say like Artificer in general just kind of reminds me of Ratchet and Clank, and this one's probably the one that like reminds me more of the guns, like kind of like the
Yeah,
Rhino, like the
boom
Rhino. You know
boom.
what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I do.
That's so like so that just reminds me of like this like especially when you get two of them that kind of like reminds me of like the turret like the art like the giant turrets that you can have surrounded and stuff like that and control. So this one's very interesting to me. I think it's a solid A because there are points where it's like you could be like like it could be kind of hard to role play, but I do quite like it. It seems very fun to play because you're just like I have cannons behind me, come on, dare stop me, like come by near me and you'll just get blasted.
Yeah. This is the subclass that walks up to the barbarian as like, "Oh, you have great weapon master. What weapons do you know how to make?" You know, like,
Yeah, it's just like, and I imagine like this, like especially because like, one thing I could also imagine is like you are the one who created these weapons, so you probably like have an like you can make yourself attached to these weapons. You know, like
yeah.
because maybe like you could play that into a character, like oh yeah, there's like these are my babies, like I made them from scratch. They're like they're my life's work. You know,
Mhm.
things like that. And like this is like one of my greatest inventions. Like you could play that to a character. So this one's very fun to me. Very fun.
Yeah, I definitely think there's a lot of potential. I think it does require a a level of intention. Like you have to intentionally be role playing this class. It's not necessarily given to you on a silver spoon quite as much as the armorer is. Um, But I also think that every feature kind of lends itself to the class, which does make it better than the Alchemist. So I think it falling right between these two does kind of feel natural. It does feel like it is the in between point of the Armorer and the Alchemist, to where you could roleplay it as well as the Armorer, but it's not. It's not quite that silver spoon where it's just going to happen automatically. You will have to do it intentionally, but all the tools to do it are right there. You know, this will be a very easy class to roleplay if you just want to play the gun nut, then here's your gun nut. Um, for our last artificer subclass, it's the battlesmith, and I'll let you take it away on what the battlesmith can do.
Okay, so this one's like again, I don't really need to repeat myself with this, but like you get a specific tool proficiency, which is Smith tools this time. Kind of the buff support. Monster Hunter, you have the hunting horn, so you do buffs for your characters. This is kind of like that because you get shield, you get like a lot of like kind of like buffs for like other people. They're not really like attacking stuff. You are again, this is more of like you are the defender, a little bit less than the armor, or around the same as the armor, and you could also get proficiencies with martial weapons. And when you attach it with magical weapons, you can actually use intelligent modifier, which is very good for artificer because their main thing is intelligence. And then once you become another third level thing is that when you become third level, you actually have a faithful companion, a steel defender. So like this is you could even give it like personality and all this stuff, so
Mm.
it basically gets like a full like on the page it has like a full kind of like action and all this stuff to do. So like you could, it gets like good armor class, like 15 natural armor. I don't think you could actually add more armor to it, so that's a little bit of a bummer, but still like you get all these like bonuses, you get to repair it, like things like that. And if you use mending on it, it actually gives it 2d6 healing point.
Yeah.
And so it's just a very good like subclass that you just basically get a buddy, which you could roleplay easily. Then another thing, you basically get an extra attack like before with the armor, arcane jolt. So you have new ways to learn harnessing your enemy. So you could actually just now, if you're a steel defender or you're or you hit anything with a magical weapon, you actually could do 2d6 extra force damage, or you could choose one creature you see within your target and give them 2d6 healing. And this is again to your intelligence modifier equals time. So like let's say you have a +5 to intelligence modifier, you can use this 5 times. Great turn, but you cannot use it more than once on a turn. Like you only can use it once per turn. At 15 level, you just get buffs. So Steel Defender gets more AC, specifically 17. You get to you deflect attack, basically just gets more damage, and same with the extra healing and from Arcane Jolt is actually now increased to 4d6 instead of 2d6. So very good stuff.
I do like this one a lot. Definitely like the artillerist. You want to play artificer is going to be good in battle. This artificer is, battles in their name and it shows. Um, I like the steel defender. I like having that buddy who, if you're willing to role play with that as having that like another again Ratchet and Clank, having your little Clank that comes around with you, helping you. Um, if that's the type of thing you want, this is going to be great for roleplay. It does lean into itself a little bit, not as much as the Alchemist does. So I would put it above the Alchemist. I'd probably put it either A or A plus, depending on what you have to say. I think for me, I'd put this one in A, uh, just because it does have that feeling of where it is easy to roleplay. Um, I would actually even put it above the Artillerist probably myself. But I don't think it's quite given to you as much on a silver spoon as the armor is. I think the armor is definitely the roleplay champion of the artificer in my opinion. But I would be willing to give this one an honorary A plus. Maybe move the armor up to S. Uh, for now, maybe in S we'll have one subclass from every class that we can decide at the end of each class.
Well, yeah, and plus, like, we could also rank the tiers, like, after we're done. Right now, we're just gonna
Mm-hmm.
do base ranking, so, like, we're not doing ranking tiers at the moment. But
Yeah.
at the end, end of the, like, when we rank the full class, like, we'll probably just rank them. So I would say, I personally like this quite a bit. Like, when you brought up that it's gonna be, like, Clank, that's just an amazing, like, I love Clank. Clank is a boy. He's great.
Yeah.
And just the role playing, I understand, like, yes, like you kind of lean towards more of like a specific thing, basically role playing with the buddy,
Mm-hmm.
because that's like your main function of the class, and so it would be slightly harder to play than the armor. But when you get good, it is so good. Like I just imagine so many possibilities. So I will give it either top of A or bottom of A plus, like one of those two.
Okay, I can agree with that. Um, I think for now we'll probably keep it in A, and maybe keep Artificer Armor in A plus. And then as we go through our other subclasses we have, 'cause, there's a couple here. We can
There are a
definitely
couple.
we can improve our perspective on things, and maybe this is S tier, and maybe this is A plus, but we'll let ourselves get a little bit more perspective going through these other subclasses. Um, but this has been the Artificer. Definitely an easier one because we only have 4 subclasses to go through. It's kind of a sad reality. The Artificer could use some more subclasses.
Yeah, official subclasses, because there are more of like under the Arcana, some of the ones that aren't technically canon or like official,
Mm-hmm.
which is a bit of a bummer because those are actually I checked them a little bit earlier ago. They're pretty fun. I would say they're nice. Like, but
Look
again,
good.
like I feel like some classes get more love than the other because I'm pretty sure Artificer is actually technically one of the more new ones.
Uh-huh. I think it is the newest class of the
The
game.
newest one, like if you don't include Blood Hunter, which we're not including in this video stuff,
There's
because
116 official class subclasses in the game. We can talk
yes.
about homebrew once we've gone through all 116.
Please
Right now
don't let
that
us talk about homebrew. No. What? You didn't hear that. You didn't hear that. What?
uh, um but yeah, we'll probably do independent videos on each class, and hopefully you guys will come back and we can talk about the barbarian next time and how the barbarian matches up. We'll keep the same list, so as we do each video, you'll see how each subclass stacks up against subclasses in other classes as well. And we definitely, even if you're mostly interested in the artificer, it's good to check out that other stuff too, because we're gonna potentially move some of this stuff around once we have more to compare it to. Come watch this video over here on the right. Click on it. It might be the barbarian one if it's out yet. If not, just click on this video over here. Yeah, click on the video. Come on, you can do it. I'm not gonna wait around all day. I gotta go. I gotta. I got.